My family left me stranded on a road trip. Let's see if she can figure this one out. So I froze their credit cards. The first thing you need to know about my family is that they've perfected the art of making me invisible while keeping me close enough to be useful. I'm squeezed into the middle seat of our rented SUV somewhere between Macon and the Georgia-North Carolina border, watching pine trees blur past the window while my brother Marcus regales everyone with another story about his brilliant real estate deals. His wife Tamara hangs on every word like he's announcing the cure for cancer instead of describing how he flipped a duplex in Buckhead. And then I told the seller, "Look, buddy, you can take my offer or watch this place sit on the market for another 6 months." Marcus says, one hand on the steering wheel, the other gesturing dramatically. 3 days later, boom. Signed, sealed, delivered. "Oh my God, babe, you're like so good at reading people." Tamara gushes from the passenger seat, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her phone screen as she updates her Instagram story. "It's like you have this superpower or whatever." Dad chuckles from behind me. "That's my boy. Always had a head for business, even as a kid." I shift uncomfortably as Mom pats my knee. "Janelle's doing well too," she says in that tone parents use when they're trying to include the kid who didn't make the team. "Tell them about your promotion, honey." "It wasn't really a promotion," I say quietly. "Just a lateral move to a different department." "See? So modest." Mom beams, missing the point entirely. Marcus catches my eye in the rearview mirror and smirks. "What department again now?" "Something with computers." "Risk and fraud analysis," I say. Right. Very technical." He says it like I told him I clean sewers for a living. This is how it's always been. Marcus gets the spotlight, the praise, the assumption that everything he touches turns to gold. I get the consolation prize of being called reliable and practical. Words that sound nice until you realize they're code for forgettable. We're making this trek to North Carolina for our Aunt Lorraine's retirement party. She's the only family member who's ever really seen me, who remembers my birthday without Facebook reminders and actually listens when I talk. The irony isn't lost on me that we're celebrating the one person who gets me while I'm trapped in a metal box with the 3 people who've spent 32 years proving they don't. "Oh, we should totally document this trip." Tamara suddenly announces, twisting around to face us with her phone already recording. "Say hi, everyone. We're on our way to celebrate the amazing Aunt Lorraine." Marcus immediately perks up, flashing his camera-ready smile. "What's up, Instagram?" The Morrison family road trip is in full swing. We've got about 2 hours left to. "Janelle, move over. You're blocking the light." Tamara interrupts, waving her hand at me like I'm a piece of furniture. I press myself further into the corner, making myself smaller. It's a reflex I've perfected over the years. Perfect. Okay, so we're bringing presents. We're bringing love, and Marcus is bringing his famous charm. Tamara continues her performance for her followers. "Don't forget my famous good looks," Marcus adds, earning a giggle from Tamara and an eye roll from me that nobody notices. 20 minutes later, Marcus pulls into a gas station that looks like it was last updated in 1987. The fluorescent sign flickers weakly in the gray afternoon light, and I can see storm clouds gathering on the horizon. "Pit stop, everybody out," Marcus announces. Tam needs her overpriced coffee fix. We pile out of the SUV, and I immediately feel the humidity hit me like a damp blanket. There's a storm coming. I can smell it in the air, that metallic scent that means we're about to get soaked. "I'm gonna grab some snacks," I tell Mom, but she's already following Tamara toward the convenience store, deep in conversation about some reality TV show I've never watched. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzz overhead while classic rock plays from tinny speakers. I grab a bag of pretzels and a bottle of water, then get in line behind a trucker buying energy drinks and scratchers. The cashier, a teenager with purple hair and multiple piercings, looks like she'd rather be literally anywhere else. When I come back outside, I can hear laughter from inside the SUV. Marcus has the engine running, and everyone's already buckled in. Through the rain-spotted windshield, I can see Tamara holding up her phone again, recording something. I approach the passenger side, expecting someone to unlock the doors or at least acknowledge my existence. Instead, Marcus revs the engine. Marcus. I call out, confused. That's when I see his grin in the side mirror. Tamara's giggling, and I can hear Mom say something that sounds like, "Oh, Marcus, no," but she's laughing too. "Let's see if she can figure this one out," Marcus says loud enough for me to hear, and then he puts the SUV in drive. For a split second, I think this is just Marcus being Marcus, juvenile, but ultimately harmless. He'll drive to the exit and come back, maybe circle the parking lot once while they all have their laugh at my expense. But then I see Tamara's phone pointed at me through the window, recording my confusion, and Marcus accelerates toward the highway. "Wait!" I shout, running after them, my sneakers splashing through puddles. Wait, this isn't funny. The SUV turns onto the main road, and I watch our family vehicle disappear around a bend, carrying my parents, my brother, his wife, and I realize with growing horror, my purse, which I'd left on the floor behind Mom's seat. I stand there in the parking lot as the first fat raindrops begin to fall, holding my bag of pretzels and bottle of water like the world's most pathetic survival kit. A trucker loading diesel gives me a curious look before climbing into his cab and driving away. The rain picks up, and I can feel it soaking through my t-shirt as I process what just happened. They didn't just leave me behind by accident. This was planned. Coordinated. Marcus said it himself. This was a test. Let's see if she can figure this one out. I look around the gas station, a faded building with barred windows, surrounded by scrubby pine trees and nothing else for miles. No wallet. No credit cards. No cash except for maybe $3 in quarters scattered at the bottom of my now absent purse. My phone has 2 bars and 43% battery. As I stand there getting drenched, something shifts inside me. It starts as a flutter in my chest. Not panic, not despair, but something sharper. Something colder. They've underestimated me my entire life. Called me the quiet one, the reliable one, the one who doesn't make waves. They've treated me like emotional furniture, something to be moved around for their convenience and forgotten when I'm not immediately useful. But what they don't know, what they've never bothered to learn because they've never bothered to really see me, is that being underestimated is the most powerful weapon a person can have. I walk to the covered area near the gas pumps and pull out my phone. The screen lights up, showing 17 missed calls from Marcus and a handful of texts I haven't read yet. I don't open them. Instead, I open my banking app and smile for the first time all day. "Figure this out, golden boy," I whisper to myself as thunder rumbles overhead. Game on. I find a dry bench under the overhang of an old picnic area behind the gas station, the kind of forgotten space where weeds push through cracked concrete and cigarette butts collect in the corners. The rain is coming down harder now, drumming against the metal roof above me like nature's own percussion section. My phone buzzes with another call from Marcus. I decline it and watch the screen light up with a string of text messages. Marcus. "Nell, where are you?" Marcus. "We're at the McDonald's down the road, come find us." Marcus. "It's not that far, just walk." Mom. "Sweetie, we're so sorry." Marcus says, "You'll find us." Tamara. "OMG, Nell, this is like so not a big deal, just call an Uber or whatever." I almost laugh. An Uber? With what money, Tamara? With what credit card? But then I remember something that makes my smile widen. I do have access to money. Lots of it, actually. See, there's something my family has never understood about my job at First National Trust. When I tell people I work in risk and fraud analysis, their eyes glaze over. It sounds boring, technical, forgettable, just like me. What they don't realize is that I'm the person banks call when they need to lock down accounts, freeze assets, and track financial irregularities. I'm the one who can spot a fraudulent transaction from 3 states away and shut it down before the scammer finishes typing their password. More importantly, I'm the person my family asked to help them organize their finances 3 years ago when Dad had his heart attack and everyone panicked about managing their money properly. "Janelle's so good with numbers," Mom had said. "She'll make sure everything's set up right." So I did. I set up their accounts, organized their automatic payments, streamlined their banking, and made myself a co-holder on most of their financial products for emergencies. Because that's what reliable, Practical Janelle does. She handles the boring stuff so everyone else can focus on being fabulous. Including Marcus's real estate account. The one he uses for his property flipping business. The one he's been bragging about for the last 2 hours. I open the First National app and log into my work portal. The beauty of working in fraud prevention is that everything is designed for speed and efficiency. When someone's account is compromised, every second counts. Lucky for me, right now I'm the compromise. The family's shared travel account shows recent charges, gas from 2 hours ago, a pre-authorization from the Lakeside Resort where they're planning to stay tonight, and charges at various restaurants along their route. I can see the whole trail of their trip laid out in neat little transaction lines. With a few taps, I place a fraud alert on every single card linked to the travel account. The system asks me to specify the reason. Suspicious activity detected. I type. Cards may be compromised. Next, I access Marcus's business account. This takes a little more creativity, but not much. As a co-holder, I have legitimate access, and my fraud department credentials let me flag unusual patterns. Marcus has been making several large cash withdrawals lately, which, now that I think about it, is actually pretty suspicious behavior for a supposedly legitimate business. I freeze his primary business card, his backup card, and his line of credit. For good measure, I set up an alert that will require manual verification for any charges over $50. But I'm not done. I pull up their mobile payment apps. Turns out when you help your technologically challenged family set up their Zelle and Venmo accounts, they give you access to those too, just in case. I suspend their payment capabilities and set up security holds that will require them to verify their identities at a physical bank location before making any transfers. My phone buzzes with another call from Marcus. This time I answer. Nell. What the hell? Where are you? I'm exactly where you left me, Marcus. At the gas station. In the rain. Look, we were just messing around. We're at McDonald's now. It's like half a mile down the road. Just walk over here and stop being so dramatic. Half a mile? In a thunderstorm? With no umbrella? I let a little hurt creep into my voice, though I'm feeling anything but hurt right now. I don't have my purse, remember? No money for food, no ID, nothing. It's not that big a deal, Nell. You're being ridiculous. You're right, I say sweetly. It's not a big deal at all. I'll figure it out. I hang up and immediately block all their numbers. The rain starts to ease up just as a pickup truck pulls into the gas station. I watch as a woman about my age gets out to pump gas. She's wearing scrubs and has the tired but kind face of someone finishing a long shift. When she catches me looking, she waves. You okay, honey? She calls over. You look a little stranded. I walk over to her truck, noting the North Carolina plates. Actually, I am stranded. My family... I pause, crafting the story. We got separated, and my phone died. I don't suppose you're heading toward Asheville? Close enough, she says, studying my face. You sure you're not in some kind of trouble? Nothing I can't handle, I say, and for the first time in my life, I completely mean it. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in Jenny's warm truck, heading toward my revenge while my family discovers that their Golden Boy's credit cards have mysteriously stopped working. Figure that out, Golden Boy, I whisper as we drive into the storm. This is just the beginning. Jenny drops me off at a small diner about 20 miles from the Lakeside Resort where my family is headed. I thank her with the promise to pay her kindness forward someday, then settle into a corner booth with a cup of coffee and my phone. The beauty of working in fraud prevention is that you learn to think like both the victim and the perpetrator. Right now, I'm definitely the perpetrator, and I'm about to watch my handiwork unfold in real time. I've created a dummy email account, one of several I maintain for work purposes, and I'm logged into the hotel's guest services portal. The Lakeside Resort is exactly the kind of place Marcus would choose. Expensive, flashy, with a website full of sunset photos and testimonials about unforgettable luxury experiences. The kind of place that requires a credit card guarantee for late arrivals. My phone shows at 6:47 p.m. when I get the first indication that my plan is working. A notification pops up on my fraud monitoring dashboard. Authorization declined. Insufficient verification. Morrison. M. Then another. Multiple authorization failures detected. Morrison family account. And another. Emergency hold placed. Unusual activity pattern. I sip my coffee and watch the digital carnage unfold like the world's most satisfying disaster movie. At 7:15 p.m., my personal phone buzzes with a call from Dad. I let it go to voicemail, then listen to his message. Janelle, honey, there's some kind of problem with our cards. Can you call us back? We're having trouble checking into our hotel. I delete the voicemail without responding. At 7:23 p.m., Marcus tries calling from a number I don't recognize, probably the hotel's front desk phone. I decline the call and add it to my block list. By 7:30 p.m., the texts start coming in fast. Mom. Janelle, please call us back. There's something wrong with our bank accounts. Mom. Honey, I'm really worried. Where are you? Mom. The hotel says our reservation is canceled and we can't get our cards to work. Mom. Please don't punish all of us for Marcus being stupid. I screenshot that last one. At least Mom's starting to get it. Through the diner's window, I can see storm clouds gathering again. Perfect weather for what my family is probably going through right now, standing in the marble lobby of an upscale resort, watching their perfect little road trip dissolve into chaos. I pull up the local news website for Asheville and find exactly what I'm looking for: the business section contact information. Specifically, I find Miranda Chin, an investigative reporter who's been covering real estate fraud in the region. Time for phase 2. I compose a careful email from my anonymous account. Subject: Tip, fraudulent real estate activities in Atlanta Metro. Ms. Chin. I'm writing to alert you to suspicious activities by Marcus Morrison, owner of Morrison Property Solutions in Atlanta. Public records show a pattern of questionable practices including forged signatures on purchase agreements, evictions of elderly tenants without proper notice, misrepresentation of property conditions to buyers, potential tax evasion through shell companies. Mr. Morrison often brags about his methods publicly and on social media. I've attached screenshots of several concerning posts where he describes pressuring vulnerable sellers and circumventing tenant protections. He's currently in your area, staying at the Lakeside Resort or trying to. A concerned citizen. I attach screenshots I've been collecting for months. Marcus's Instagram stories where he brags about creative problem solving and knowing which rules you can bend. The kind of posts he thought were impressive, but actually document a pattern of predatory behavior. Before I can second-guess myself, I hit send. My phone immediately buzzes with another unknown number. This time I answer. Janelle. It's Tamara, and she sounds panicked. Oh my God, where are you? This is so not funny anymore. Our cards aren't working, and the hotel people are being super rude, and your dad looks like he's going to have another heart attack, and... Slow down, Tamara. I say calmly. What exactly is happening? Everything is broken. The hotel says our reservation was canceled because the payment didn't go through, and when Marcus tried to use his business card, it got declined too, and then they tried to call the bank, but the bank said there was suspicious activity, and now they want us to come in person with ID and... Have you tried explaining that it's just a misunderstanding? I ask, injecting just enough fake concern into my voice to sound helpful. Yes. But they won't listen. And it's starting to rain again, and there are no other hotels with rooms, and Marcus is screaming at everyone, and... In the background, I can hear Marcus's voice, loud and aggressive. This is ridiculous. Do you know who I am? I have more money in my business account than this entire hotel is worth. I almost feel sorry for the poor hotel staff having to deal with him. Almost. I'm sure you'll figure something out, I tell Tamara. You're all so resourceful. Janelle, please, can you just... I hang up and turn off my phone. Through the diner window, I watch lightning flash across the sky. The storm is getting worse, and somewhere about 20 miles away, my family is discovering that all their credit cards, backup cards, mobile payments, and emergency funds have mysteriously stopped working. They want to see if I could figure things out when they left me stranded. Turns out, I'm very good at figuring things out. I'm just getting started. The next morning, I catch a ride with a delivery truck driver who's heading into Asheville proper. He's a chatty guy named Roberto who tells me about his 3 daughters while classic country plays on the radio. When he drops me off downtown, I realize I have no idea where Aunt Lorraine lives anymore. It's been 2 years since I visited, and my phone with all her contact information is dead. But I remember she mentioned working part-time at a little cafe near the Arts District after her retirement from teaching. Something about staying busy and meeting people. It takes me 40 minutes of walking through the charming but hilly streets before I spot the hand-painted sign. Mountain View Cafe, coffee, community, conversation. Through the window, I see her immediately. Aunt Lorraine is behind the counter, her silver hair pulled back in a messy bun, wearing a paint-splattered apron over jeans. She's laughing with a customer, gesturing animatedly with her hands the way she always has when she tells stories. She's the only person in my family who's ever made me feel like I mattered. When I push through the door, the little bell above it chimes, and she looks up from the espresso machine. For a moment, her face goes blank with confusion, then breaks into the biggest smile I've seen in years. Janelle Morrison, what in the world are you doing here? She comes around the counter and pulls me into one of her famous hugs, the kind that smell like vanilla and make you feel like everything might actually be okay. Aren't you supposed to be with the rest of the circus, family, at some fancy hotel? It's a long story, I say, and suddenly I'm fighting back tears I didn't know were coming. She studies my face with those sharp blue eyes that see everything. Marie, can you handle things for a bit? She calls to a young woman restocking pastries. My niece needs some coffee and conversation. 20 minutes later, we're sitting at a corner table with oversized mugs of her signature lavender latte, and I'm telling her everything. The abandonment at the gas station, Marcus's casual cruelty, the credit card situation, the investigative journalist, all of it. Aunt Lorraine listens without interrupting, occasionally raising an eyebrow or making soft mm sounds. When I finish, she sits back in her chair and starts laughing, not the polite, social laugh most adults use, but a real, deep belly laugh that makes other customers turn and smile. "Oh, honey," she says, wiping her eyes. "I am so proud of you, I could burst. You're not shocked? Or disappointed that I'm being vindictive?" She reaches across the table and squeezes my hand. "Janelle, I've been waiting 32 years for you to get angry. Really, truly angry. Not that quiet, swallow it down stuff you usually do, but full-blown, consequences be damned furious. You have, sweet girl, you've been the family's scapegoat since you were 5 years old. Do you know what they used to call me when I was your age?" I shake my head. The difficult one. The troublemaker. The one who asked too many questions and didn't know her place. She takes a sip of her latte. "I was the one who pointed out that your grandfather drank too much, that your grandmother played favorites, that the whole family had this toxic pattern of picking one person to dump all their dysfunction on. What happened? I got tired of being their emotional punching bag, so I moved 3 states away and built my own life. Best decision I ever made."
She grins.
"But I always worried about you because you had that same target painted on your back and you're too sweet for your own good." "I don't feel very sweet right now." "Good.
Sweet gets you walked on.
Sweet gets you left at gas stations in thunderstorms." She leans forward conspiratorially. "Being underestimated, though? That's a superpower if you know how to use it." "How do you mean?" "Think about it. They've spent so many years treating you like you're invisible that they forgot you can see them. They've been so busy dismissing you that they never noticed you were learning their weaknesses, memorizing their habits, understanding exactly how their little kingdom works." I think about Marcus's Instagram posts documenting his questionable business practices, about my parents giving me access to all their financial accounts, about how they've confided their secrets to me over the years because I was safe, too quiet, too reliable to ever use that information against them. They never saw me coming. I say quietly.
Exactly.
The thing about being invisible is that you can move through the world without anyone tracking your steps. You see everything, but nobody thinks to watch you back. We spend the rest of the day together. She closes the cafe early, and we walk to her little cottage tucked into the hills above town. It's exactly what I'd expect from Aunt Lorraine. Mismatched furniture, books everywhere, herb garden overflowing in the backyard, and cats that appear and disappear like magic. We cook dinner together, her famous lasagna that takes hours but tastes like heaven, and she tells me stories about the family I never knew. How my grandfather used to terrorize his kids with unpredictable rages. How my grandmother would pit her children against each other for attention. How the Morrison family tree is full of people who learn to survive by making sure someone else was always the target. The pattern stops with you, she says as we sit on her porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains purple and gold. You're not perpetuating it, you're ending it. My phone, now charged, shows 17 missed calls and 43 unread messages. They're probably sleeping in their car tonight, I mention casually. Aunt Lorraine raises her wine glass. Here's to natural consequences and long overdue justice. I was always the quiet one, I say, clinking my glass against hers. Not anymore, honey. Not anymore. The next evening, I borrow Aunt Lorraine's car and drive to the address I found through some light social media stalking. Marcus's friend Jake has an Airbnb property about 15 minutes from downtown, a modern cabin that probably costs more per night than most people make in a week. Even in crisis, Marcus manages to land on his feet through his network of equally entitled friends. I park across the street and watch through the large windows as my family moves around inside like actors on a stage. Dad's on the couch, still in the same clothes from yesterday, looking older than I've ever seen him. Mom's in the kitchen, stress cleaning by the look of it. Marcus paces back and forth, phone pressed to his ear, his face red with frustration. Tamara sits curled in a corner chair, scrolling through her phone with a defeated posture of someone whose perfect life has suddenly developed cracks. They've been calling me nonstop for 2 days. The voicemails progressed from annoyed to panicked to desperate. The texts went from demands to pleas to guilt trips. But I wasn't ready to face them until I had everything I needed. Now I do. I gather the manila folder from the passenger seat and walk up the stone pathway. Through the window, I can see Marcus is still on his phone, probably with another bank representative or a credit card company, still trying to convince someone that this is all a big misunderstanding. I don't knock. I just walk in. The conversation stops mid-sentence. Marcus freezes with his phone halfway to his ear. Mom drops the dish towel she was holding. Dad sits up straighter on the couch, and Tamara looks up from her screen with wide eyes. For a moment, the only sound is the soft jazz playing from the Bluetooth speaker in the corner. Hi, everyone, I say pleasantly, closing the door behind me. Hope you don't mind me dropping by. Janelle. Mom rushes toward me, her face a mixture of relief and guilt. Oh, honey, we've been so worried. Where have you been? Are you okay? Why haven't you been answering your phone? I've been fine, Mom. Thanks for asking. I set my folder on the coffee table and smile at each of them in turn. How's your vacation going? I heard you had some trouble with the hotel. Marcus finally lowers his phone. Nell, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but this isn't funny anymore. Do you have any idea what we've been through? The banks think someone stole our identities. They've frozen everything. We've been sleeping on air mattresses and eating gas station food for 2 days. That sounds awful, I say with genuine sympathy. Really terrible way to treat family, leaving them stranded like that. The irony isn't lost on anyone in the room. Dad clears his throat. Sweetheart, we know we messed up at the gas station. Marcus was just joking around, and it got out of hand. But this, whatever's happening with the money, we need to fix this together. You're right, Dad. We should definitely talk about what's been happening. I open my folder and pull out a stack of printed pages. I brought some materials I thought you might find interesting. I hand the first set of documents to Marcus. These are screenshots of your Instagram stories from the last 6 months. The ones where you brag about pressuring elderly homeowners into selling below market value. And here, I pass him another set. These are the complaints filed against Morrison Property Solutions with the Better Business Bureau. Fascinating reading. Marcus's face goes white as he flips through the pages. Where did you get these? I've been paying attention, Marcus. For years. Turns out when people treat you like furniture, you hear a lot of interesting conversations. I turn to my parents. Like how Marcus tells his real estate buddies that dad's getting soft in his old age and that mom is too emotional to understand business. That's not. Marcus starts, but I cut him off. Oh, but there's more. I pull out my phone and scroll to a voice recording. This is from Thanksgiving last year, when you thought I was in the kitchen doing dishes. Marcus's voice fills the room. I swear, sometimes I think Nell's brain just runs on a different frequency than normal people. Like, she's smart with numbers and stuff, but she has zero social intelligence. It's actually kind of sad. Mom and dad feel sorry for her, so they keep trying to include her in stuff. But honestly, family gatherings would be way more fun without her bringing down the mood. The silence that follows is deafening. Tamara slowly stands up. I can't. I'm not doing this. She grabs her purse. Call me when you all figure out whatever this is. She storms toward the door, then turns back. And Marcus? I told you recording that stupid video at the gas station was a mistake. She slams the door behind her. Dad looks at Marcus with an expression I've never seen before, disappointment mixed with something that might be disgust. Son, is this really how you talk about your sister? Dad, you don't understand the context. I understand that your sister has been helping manage our finances for 3 years, and now mysteriously our accounts are frozen right after you abandoned her in a thunderstorm. Mom sinks into a chair. Janelle, honey, can we move forward from this? Family is family. Maybe we can all learn from our mistakes and... No, Mom. I stand up and gather my papers. We can't just move forward. Because moving forward implies that this was a temporary problem instead of a 32-year pattern. I look around the room at their faces, Marcus angry and defensive, Dad confused and hurt, Mom desperately trying to smooth things over like always. I didn't do this to break the family, I say quietly. I did this to remind you who I am when you pretend I don't exist. I'm not the quiet little girl who takes whatever scraps of attention you throw her way. I'm not your backup plan, or your tech support, or your emotional dumping ground. I walk toward the door, then pause. The credit cards will be unfrozen in 48 hours. The investigation into Marcus's business practices, however, I shrug. That's out of my hands now. I leave them sitting in their borrowed cabin, finally seeing me clearly for the first time in their lives. It feels better than I ever imagined. A week later, I'm sitting in my Atlanta apartment with my feet propped up on the coffee table, morning sunlight streaming through the windows I finally got around to washing. There's something therapeutic about having clean windows. Everything looks clearer, brighter, more honest. My laptop is open to a grant application for women entrepreneurs in financial technology. The paperwork is spread across my dining table like a treasure map leading to my new life. Morrison Financial Consulting, fraud prevention and risk analysis for small businesses. It has a nice ring to it. The startup capital came from an unexpected source, stock options in a tech company that Marcus asked me to help him manage 2 years ago. You're so good with this boring financial stuff, Nell, he'd said, handing over the paperwork like he was giving me homework. Just keep track of it for me. Let me know if it's worth anything. Turns out it was worth quite a lot. As the co-manager of his investment portfolio, I had every legal right to execute the sale when the stock hit its peak last month. Funny how Marcus never bothered to read the fine print on those documents he signed. The money funded my business registration, my professional certifications, and the security deposit on a better apartment in Virginia Highland, the kind of place with exposed brick walls and a balcony where I can drink my coffee and watch the sunrise instead of my family's drama. My phone sits silent on the kitchen counter. No missed calls from Mom and Dad. No desperate texts from Marcus. No dramatic voicemails from Tamara. The silence is beautiful. I know from Aunt Lorraine that they made it home safely. She mentioned it casually during our daily phone calls. Yes, we talk every day now, along with updates about her cats and the new art class she's teaching at the community center. Apparently, my parents called her looking for information about my whereabouts, but Lorraine told them she was respecting my privacy during this difficult time. How difficult is it really? She asked with a laugh during yesterday's call. Not difficult at all, I'd admitted. Actually, it's the most peaceful I've felt in years. Marcus deleted all his social media accounts 3 days ago. The investigative article about his business practices ran in the Asheville paper, then got picked up by Atlanta media outlets. Turns out Miranda Chen was very thorough in her research. The story detailed a pattern of predatory practices targeting elderly homeowners, forged documents, and questionable eviction procedures. Several of his victims came forward with their own stories after the article published. I heard from my former coworker Janet that Marcus tried calling our office, demanding to speak with me about malicious prosecution and family sabotage. Janet told him I'd taken a leave of absence and transferred him to our legal department's voicemail. The irony is delicious. I take a sip of my lavender latte, I learned to make them from Aunt Lorraine, and review the final pages of my grant application. The section asking about my motivation for starting this business practically wrote itself. Having worked in corporate fraud prevention for 8 years, I've seen how financial abuse often starts with small betrayals of trust. My goal is to help small business owners protect themselves from both external threats and internal vulnerabilities that can destroy families and partnerships. Prevention is always more effective than cleanup. True words, though the grant committee doesn't need to know how personal my expertise really is. My doorbell rings, and I pad over in my fuzzy slippers to check the peephole. It's a delivery driver holding a large bouquet. For a moment, my heart sinks. If my family thinks flowers are going to fix this, they're even more delusional than I thought. But the card isn't from them. Congratulations on your new business venture. Here's to women who refuse to stay small. Your proud Aunt Lorraine. The flowers are sunflowers, bright, bold, impossible to ignore. Just like the person I'm becoming. I arrange them in a vase and place them on my dining table next to the grant paperwork. Then I open my laptop and start typing my personal statement for the application. I understand what it means to be underestimated. For most of my life, I allowed others to define my worth based on their own limitations. But there's something powerful about being overlooked. It teaches you to see clearly while moving quietly. It teaches you that the most effective revolutions happen not through dramatic gestures, but through patient, strategic action. I pause, thinking about that gas station, about standing in the rain while my family drove away laughing. The funny thing about being left behind is you learn how to outrun people when they least expect it. When someone abandons you, they lose the right to control your next move. They wanted to test whether I could figure things out on my own. I didn't just figure it out. I finished it. I saved the document and leaned back in my chair. Through my clean windows, I can see my neighbors heading off to their jobs, their ordinary Wednesday morning routines. None of them know that the quiet woman in apartment 4B just dismantled her entire family structure and rebuilt her life from scratch. They don't need to know. I have work to do. My phone buzzes with a text from Aunt Lorraine. Coffee date this weekend? I want to hear about your business plans. I text back. Absolutely. I have so much to tell you. For the first time in my life, that's completely true.
The end.